because I hate the microphone. So if you can hear me, I'll just speak because I am. Everybody happy?
Yeah.
Pick up the thing and we'll roll. So, hello everyone, I am Tom and I'm going to talk a little bit about my journey as a undergraduate student studying computing at the University of Bournemouth, which is in the southwest of England, and a little bit about why my experience is unique, some of the trials, some of the tribulations, and some of the highs too. So, I had two real objectives. I wanted to further myself as a professional and a person who's interested in computing, to learn more about that subject, but I also wanted to do something a bit more fundamental too, in that before I left for university I was quite, I think social recluse is probably a sensible term. I was really keen to try and put that behind me. Yeah, Gail goes, you're kidding. No, I used to keep myself at home and not really have a great deal of personal friendships. I was really keen to change that. So off I went. It's how well I know. So I thought this was a really nice quote to kind of summarise it. If I look back at the time where I was preparing to leave, home for the first time three and a bit years ago now, it was quite a nerve-wracking time, to be honest. I had no idea what laid in front of me, and I think it just goes to show that if you can push past that fear and that anxiety and achieve, work towards something, it can be a really good benefit to not only me but also to others as well. Right. So if we wind the clock back 3 years ago now, so I applied for university in the usual way. I was very lucky to get an unconditional offer. But that was just the start of the journey really. There was lots of things I had to think about in terms of where I was going to live, how I was going to be supported, because I require support for pretty much at all times, and how that was going to be managed. As I say, where I was going to live, and actually trying to build up a social life too. So I spent the 9 months before heading to university quite, dubious about what was going to happen, and also trying to prepare all these things to have a great start. There were a reasonable few bumps in that road. It was difficult to try and find the people to support me and the financial backing to support me to do that, because you imagine these things aren't exactly cheap, and trying to persuade people that like to count their pennies at the moment that they need to spend money is a bit difficult. But we got there, and first year comes along, and it was a rocky start, to be fair. I was fairly unsure of myself, and trying to get used to how life now worked. Now I was my own free self, and trying to work together with people who I hadn't necessarily met, and that was a massive challenge for me. I'd kind of worked in my own little bubble for such a long time, and having to broaden that out was a challenge, but eventually we had all the right team in place, and I was there. I think by all accounts it was going fairly well, wasn't it?
It was going pretty well, yeah.
And I was happy, the lecturers, were happy with what I was doing. I built up a great circle of friends through where I was living, and we were having a great time. And then we get to about 13 months down the track, and I get called to a meeting one day, and the company who I won't name, that were providing my support at that time, said, no, sorry, we're not going to carry on doing that anymore. And it was a bit like, oh, where do I go from here? I was midway through a year, I had exams coming up, and so I had all that pressure. And then they turned around and said, see ya, we're off now, so I had to kind of, take control of it for myself. I thought, I'm not going to leave it to a company who, they also have profit margins to look after, which is slightly unfortunate, but that's the way things go. And I decided that after 18 months of that experience, although it had been a great start, it was time to own my own support and take control of that and not leave it into the hands of somebody else. So I had a team of support that were previously employed by my family, and a lot of them very kindly stepped up to the plate so I could carry on. I was literally, I think we even discussed the fact of me not even possibly coming back at one point, I'm fairly sure.
We did.
And I said, look, I'm not sure whether I'll be back after the Easter holidays, and my family were trying hard, and we were all trying hard, but in those few weeks where I don't think we knew what was going to happen, and we were extremely fortunate for those who stepped up to the plate, and it also gave me a huge opportunity as well to learn about new things, like how to employ people, and all the rules around that, and all the lovely things that you have to do and send and pay, like tax and all that nice stuff. So that was another education on top of my degree that I didn't quite necessarily expect, because we'd done that on a slightly small scale at home, but my family had run that. But I took the decision that if we were going to sort of go down this road, I had to own it. It's my life. I've got however long I have. I can't just not own that I have these problems and these issues. I need to grab it and deal with it. And that seems to be working fairly well.
I think from the degree point of view as well, this is also where Tom learned that printing is the most difficult problem in computing, in printing out the staff rotas.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that midway through second year was a big challenge. I think I know the university had already overcome some challenges in relation to my needs, but I think that was a big shock to everyone that curveballs can come out of the blue. And luckily, thank you to some very special people, I managed to not fall off that road really. So yeah, I made it by the grace of everything that's good. I made it. So then I get to the final year. As you can see, I think this was the year that probably took the greatest toll on me, I think.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think just 2 years of very hard work, especially after that second year. Sorry, inspiration porn alert. This is a phrase I learnt from Tom, but we have been absolutely astonished by his determination and persistence in getting through that second year. I mean, it's hard enough going through your second year of university as it is. Doing it when you're having to then also sort out all the practicalities of your care at the same time. And succeeding at that is, sorry. Apologies for the inspiration porn, but blimey, here I am. Right, now having Julie embarrassed you, may carry on.
So I did a project, and I think with the project I learned lots of things really. I learned that, you know, I need my own time and my own space, and I need to manage things better and perhaps speak up when things. Gail's probably going, oh, I wish you'd learned some of this at the time.
Well, you've learned from it.
So,
that's all we ask.
yeah, that was a bit of a fun year, and I ended up getting quite ill, but hey, I survived and came out with a degree. So, a brief bit about what I'm doing now. I'm up to some quite interesting things actually. I'm working with my former primary school, doing some work with them on something completely unrelated to technology, and I'm also now supporting healthcare students in their learning through my experience as someone with a physical disability. But I'm also looking forward to new opportunities too. Yeah. That was kind of far too whistle-stop than I thought it was going to be. But please question me to death. Because I think you'll get more out of it by questioning me than me
absolutely. I can say there's certainly a lot to be learned from Tom. As a university, we learned a lot. In all that planning that Tom was doing to be able to come and join us in the first place, we were running around like mad things going, well, if you can't be taken out of the chair and there's a fire, but you can't go in the lift, what are we going to do? Run around, panic, panic, panic. We solved that one in the end by basically Tom signing his life away, I think, was the solution. but it was soluble. I mean, but it was new to us and difficult and different. And some of us, he hasn't told me off for not immediately thinking about accessibility when we're considering new tools as well.
Yes.
But we do now, we're very much better at considering accessibility because we've seen Tom in action, learned a great deal from that.
But I think one thing I would say completely separate from that is how much technology has aided in this whole process. From making friends, the friends that I've made and kept, and they're now lifelong friends, most of them I've met through Facebook chat groups and things. And then, I couldn't have done the degree without, stuff like speech recognition and things like that, because I'm a one-finger typer. Anyone fancy doing a 10,000 word dissertation? I don't think so.
We can't grant extensions that long, Tom.
No, I think we've been in there a very long time. It feels like I've missed an awful lot, but I'm sure I'll pick it up in questions.
Well, yes, over to you.
Thank you, Tom. That has been a fantastic presentation. So, do we have any questions from the audience?
Hi, thanks for the talk. Alex Chan talked about the curb cut effect, where accessibility changes that were intended to support differently abled people would actually help out everyone. Is there anything that you've come across that you've thought, well, that's made my life easier, but actually that would make everyone's life easier if we all did that?
Funny you should ask.
There are lots of things, and I actually gave a talk last year on precisely that. I think even making things digital is a big step. The fact we're making this big transition and this big move towards digital, first is a big step. If I was to pick one example that's made it better for oh golly, so many. Probably synthetic voices, being able to read things. It's a big one for everybody because we all get tired, right? Long documents, degrees are full of them, all the books.
Yeah, that's true. I will put a link on Twitter to Tom's talk from last year as well, because he covered a lot of examples in that one.
Can you put it on Slack as well, please?
And so, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Any more questions?
All on the computer updates.
Hi, thanks Tom for the really good talk. I'm just interested. What did you actually do your final year project on? Out of interest.
So I developed a system for the company my dad works for. They produce newspapers. If any of us in this room still know what they are. I shouldn't really say that because it keeps my dad in a job, but I take great pains to wind him up about that. So I did that, but I think one thing it taught me, if I was to slightly deviate that question, and say one thing it taught me is that as much as I love programming, I love code, and I'm very good at it apparently, so people like to tell me. The physical demands of that is tough, right? Although we have code completion and all of the rest, programming is still a very physical thing. And I think if we can use technology to get away from the physicalities of programming, I think we can unlock a whole lot of more talent.
Hi Tom. I can appreciate the difficulties you overcome. Is tremendous, and I really, be touched by your courage, brave, and by your family. So, did you ever think about the idea? I just got an idea, maybe not immature. I think you're very successful in overcoming these difficulties. Have you even think about you use yourself example as an example to encourage other family that are meeting difficulties, and maybe you can use that to raise funding and create some foundation, like you can share your story with them and encourage, literally spread your courage and your braveness. I don't know if I use the right English term. Forgive me, my bad English level. So, have you ever think about that and use that to, you become the boss of some foundation? I think it's probably something you can do.
I mean, I'm flattered. Do you think I would be able to do that? I'd love to do it if somebody, I think there is a story out there that needs to be shared, and there's so much that's hidden away, and people just gloss over and forget about. That's something I'd love to do, and that's partly what I'm doing by being here and in front of you. But if I could do that in a greater capacity, yes, is the short answer to your question. I would love to do that.
I think we still have time for a couple of questions.
Hey, hi, thank you for the talk. I was wondering, you mentioned that the university made a lot of efforts regarding accessibility. Did they make efforts for accessibility in general, or did they make only the specific things that were adapted to your own disabilities and kind of forget the rest for now?
I think.
Let's talk about the fusion building, Tom.
Yeah. Okay. I am going to say it because they know they did wrong, and I think they've now owned they've done wrong. So,
oh hell yeah!
So I think I can publicly talk about it without getting disinvited from my graduation next month.
Hey, it's just between us.
Don't listen, Bournemouth University, it's fine. I think there is still an incredible amount of ignorance, and I'm just going to be blunt about it. It's a bit like you said about the curb cut effect, and Alex's talk earlier on, that, with big building projects, the university itself has gone through a lot of investment, and I think the curb cut effect has been largely forgotten, and I have had to, with the help of others, lead a big fight on that, and I hope they've learned some valuable lessons. Is that a diplomatic answer?
You know what? It's only my career. We've got a new building. Was it 2 years old? With doors into the lecture theatres.
They weren't even automatic.
Yeah, big, heavy
doors.
So Tom, bless him, has been very generous in helping us and not slamming us too much. We're actually going around and checking this accessibility of that building and reporting back on it. And what he did with that has very much helped us in making sure we're alert to these things where we're being asked about the design of another new building we're having. And he's,
We'll see what happens.
We shall see, but the rest of us are also no amount more alert to it and are asking those questions on behalf of people like Tom. So we've learned, we've taught Tom a lot, obviously, but we've learned every bit as much back from him.
Oh.
True.
Any more questions? Oh, two. You got the question. You lived it the last 3 years.
First of all, Tom, thanks for the great talk and the answers so far, and also thank you to whoever near the front referenced my talk from earlier.
Shameless plug.
Absolutely. So, continuing that theme, both selfishly as an organiser and also because it's something that presumably everybody in this room is familiar with, given that I think you all are physically at the conference. What's one thing we could be doing at this conference to make it more accessible, not necessarily just for you, but just for people in general?
I think you do a great job when you're already an exception to the rule. But I think there's always work to be done, and I think a big amount of that is, and I don't know how you achieve it really. Conferences like this inherently have a large amount of people. Large amount of people plus wheelchair user, not a great combination. So I think there could be some work done to look at how that could be managed. I couldn't give a checklist off the top of my head, but I think people and crowd management will be something to look at from an organiser's perspective.
I don't know if this question makes sense. I was going to, is there a sense that universities are scared of letting in people who might cause them infrastructure problems, shall I say? And do they then find actually that they gain a lot from it? Are they going to have more students who they wouldn't have got before that they perhaps can then boast about and say, oh look, Bournemouth is really good in this respect, come here? Or, does that make sense?
I think there is a big desire to be seen out front as accessible, but I think when you present challenges, I think there is a bit of that organisational pushback of, oh my goodness, and the bean counters start coming out.
Yeah, it's a bit like turning a super tanker sometimes. This is not the thing we currently do. We've currently got this, like the fire policy, for example. We have no teaching spaces on the issue is we have no teaching spaces that we could use on the ground floor for Tom, and if he goes up in the lift and we have a fire, we can't get him out. So what are we going to do? But we resolved it with Tom's help. It's that collaboration is
so important.
You can't do it without that.
Any more questions? We just have time for one more. Yeah.
I'm going to stick mine in anyway.
I do have a question more from a programming perspective. What kind of tools, editors are your favorite that you use that actually help you and have that accessibility integrated into that you use on an everyday basis when you work?
And I'm not sponsored by them, but I'm going to say it anyway, and Gail knows what I'm going to say. JetBrains are awesome. If you would like to pay me, thank you very much. I charge by the minute. No, in all seriousness, I think a lot of people in this room will chime with JetBrains as a good brand anyway. And I think a lot of their accessibility, again, comes from that curb cut theory of things like code completion, right? It means I only have to tap a few letters or maybe a very small amount of code, and it cuts down how much finger work I have to do. So it's a great step of making sure that is integrated properly and not some half-baked plugin that you throw in at the end. It's so important.
Yeah, not an afterthought. Can I sneak in one quick question?
Of course.
Because you mentioned you were a social recluse.
Which
And I fell about laughing, so what happened?
University.
Oh yeah, university somehow.
I think I made a commitment that that status quo wasn't acceptable to me, and I set about finding ways of trying to solve it, but that couldn't have been done without an incredible group of friends behind me, without whom I wouldn't have finished my degree. And I've said that to them several times and they laugh at me. But it is meant, because I had some real down in the dumps times. And those times it's the friends that stick you together and pick you back up. And without them, I wouldn't be here or anywhere else. So, apart from stuck in my home in front of my 2 nice monitors, although I do a fair share of that anyway.
So thank you, Tom's friends, if you're watching this.
Yeah, I'll make them watch it. I'll force it on. So, thank you. If you've got any other questions, I can hang around, but thanks so much. And sorry the talk ran short, but I think your questions were great and were probably better than anything I could have put together anyway. So, thank you.
Thank you very much.